Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Freeman Files here on the J-Free 906 podcast. Tom Burns and Seth Bridges here with you guys and I tonight. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing great. Doing
Hey,
great.
I want to throw out a little, I know I've been switching around the intro video a little bit, going back and forth on some different things, and I want to throw it out to the chat. It's I like the video. I really do. Is it too much? Is it too long of a thing? Or do you like just something short and sweet, or maybe nothing at all and just jump right in and say, hey, what's going on? I don't know. Let me know what you think, folks. Because I like to keep it consistent with something, but it's hard to, some people are saying, oh, you shouldn't run all that long thing in the beginning, and blah, blah, blah. So I try to take it off after the fact or something. I like the original video, Fran says. I like it. Okay, so when you say I like it, are you talking about that one that I just played, or the other video? I like the other video, and it was well done. That was made by
With the short version or the long version?
Yeah, the short version or the long version. So let me know what you think. The boom boom. I know. I like that too. I miss that. Yeah, I might have to go back to that.
It's kind of like hearing the theme song for your favorite TV show. You can hear it from the kitchen, and when you run into the front room.
Yeah, I know. And see, that's kind of what I like the music. Yeah, me too. The old one. Yes. Okay. Short version. Some people say, I like both. All right. Well, I hate to mix it up because, anyway. Hi, folks. Thank you for being here with us tonight. We appreciate your showing up. We're going to be talking about the Curse of Oak Island season 12, episode number 11, best Caisson scenario. And finally, we're getting to some Caissons. I know they were kind of showing those in the previews. Mm-hmm. Oh, Caissons, and everybody's saying, it's next week. No, it wasn't last week. Then no, it wasn't this week. So, next week.
Maybe. We know that they appear. We've got pictures.
Yes. And we saw them from the boat. Kat and I and whoever else was on the boat there with us who might be here. You guys, we saw them, so we know they went in. But I do want to say too that a couple new items. If you have not been over to the jfree906.com website, we redid that a little bit. Some folks are working on the cipher that Jake Roberts made, the Bakesonian type cipher, to figure out for a contest. But we do have some new merch on there. I don't know. Well, you can kind of see the one right here. That's a hoodie. These were made by Circle J, a lady that Linda knows in her area of Kansas. And she does really nice work. Got this one here. Just a plain black hoodie with the logo on it. It's done real nice embroidery on there. I really like these. But they're available out there. If I can get it to hang back up. They're available out on the website. If you want to help support the show, that's one of the ways you can do that. And then do a super chat and things like that. But we really appreciate it. And for those of you that are patrons, I appreciate you all very, very much. Thank you so much for your support, and those who do the chats, and some people just donate through PayPal or whatever. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. It helps to support the show. If you like what we're doing for you here tonight, give us a thumbs up. Let us know how we're doing. It kind of gives a gauge of how we're doing and how good that Seth is on the show. If you like Seth, give us thumbs up. All right.
Yeah, it's all on me. Yep. Everybody better thumbs up.
Yeah, the two I have here are just larges because I've been wearing them. But we have, I think, just about anything. I think I haven't asked her, exactly what all sizes she can make. But there's the gray one that's over here is actually a zipper front. It's a dark gray, but there's different colors too that I can go. I'm gonna place the orders and she will send them right out of Kansas. So. For us for now. So if you like that, you can check out the website. All the pricing and everything is there. And I really like them. These are the fleece kind, they're real nice and warm and not stiff and all that kind of stuff. So they're real nice. Anyway. All right. Enough of that. Let's get on with it. So last night's show was one of those ones that had some content, but it wasn't overly filled with content. And what Tom and I decided to do, that what we'll do is we'll go through episode.
Surprise, Seth, we're doing a change.
The what?
Surprise, Seth, we're doing a change.
I'm ready.
We're going to be talking about the Tales of Oak Island, the Hedden Gilbert Hedden episode that was on a couple weeks ago. We're going to be talking about that tonight as well. We're going to go over that after we finish up with this. So you might want to stick around for that. We'll still try to keep it, relatively short. But we wanted to cover that because that was I thought it was a very good episode. What did
Excellent.
you guys?
I thought it was great.
Absolutely. Right? I've been missing. I mean, everything they put on after the show is always great. But of course, as anything Oak Island related is always preferred.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've been missing the tales in the recent episodes.
Well, they did their 2 that one night. And then that was it. Those were the last 2. It was the season finale. Well, I forget what that last one was called. Do you remember, Tom?
It's about the
generations,
multi-generational theory.
Yeah. And we'll cover that one too. When we get to it, we'll be able to cover that as well. Also, I wanted to mention that tomorrow night, for those of you who like the Bigfoot stuff, we are going to be Mike Owens, Shannon DeSalvo, and I will be talking about Expedition Bigfoot episodes number 2 and 3. 3's on tonight. So I got to get that one and watch that and get all the data together for that one. But
episode 2 was good.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
I watched it. It was like, oh, it's heating up.
So we've got some good content for that one. So, and we'll get on with that. So, all right. And we do have a giveaway for tonight. Let's see. Let's bring that up. Why are my pictures jumping over here all of a sudden? Hey, bear with me a second here. I get this fixed. Let me drag this over here. I don't know why I did that. Okay, so we got 2 things. We're in honor of our good friend, Mr. Carmen Legg. We're doing a couple of giveaways here. One of them is his painting. He did a painting. This is actually it's a numbered series of his painting. It's 11 of 100. Carmen Legg. There were some oxen. He's the ox man. So we've got that picture. It's a what do they call it? A copy of the painting.
It's a print.
A print of his painting. So we got that for you tonight. And then a couple of these coasters down here. Those were donated by, was that Michelle Tomeyer? No, getting to know. I forgot already. You told me and I forgot already. Sorry, Linda. Okay, what do we got? Cat. Oh, Cat did those. Sorry, Cat. Yep, Cat did those.
Thank you, Cat.
Yep. So that'll be our giveaway. We'll talk about that some more as we go along here tonight, and we'll get to those. There they are. There she is. Hi, Kat. And we're going to be showing a few things also from our good buddy, Mr. Zane. This guy, he has put together some really cool stuff, and he knows he's kind of a visual a guy like I am, but he knows how to put some of these things together so well. And he did. I'm a visual guy. I like visual representations, and he put together this map right here of Oak Island, and he has all the points of interest on this thing. And this is he put it out on Discord, and it's out on I think it's in the Facebook group.
It is,
as well. Yeah, the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond.
Yeah, I saved it. Thank you, Zane.
Man, this thing is good. It shows Anthony Graves' place, the Brick Factory, Nolan's. It's got all the good stuff all the way around the island. And and it was something that Tom had mentioned too, was that why was Anthony Graves only concerned about lots 5 through 20 across the top? Well, because that's where everything is.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's your answer.
There's where all the important things are. But Zane does an awesome job with this stuff, and I want to thank him so much for that, because this is absolutely what we like to see to help kind of visualize these things and because I'm always wondering where was that, like the drilled stones at and things like that. It's because I always forget exactly where they are. So thank you, Zane. Appreciate it very much, sir. So if anybody wants to check that out, just pop over to our Facebook group page and you can see them over there. All right, Curse of Oak Island, episode number 11, best Caisson scenario. Guys start off in the money pit, as most of the time they do on these episodes. And they're working in this area here that they were calling the new best spot for the money pit to be the the chapel vault. Is the chapel vault actually the place where We think so, right? I mean, we don't
That's what
know.
the rumor is.
That's what the rumor is. Is it at the bottom of the money pit shaft, the original money pit shaft? Don't know. Is there an offset shaft, an offset chamber? I don't know. Had high hopes for it over in the baby blob area. But anyway, I think this is the getting back to where they started with all the caissons. This is the area I think they should be looking. You would think that they've drilled this and caisson this to death, but
Right.
yet there are spaces in there where something could be that they could have missed. You know, we talked about that before with Tom talking about the size of a, refrigerator down there or something, right?
Yep. I mean, a treasure chest that's full of silver ingots that would weigh thousands of pounds wouldn't be any bigger than a suitcase.
Right. Well, I also think of times where, they've put a caisson down one area, pulled up just wood, huge chunks of wood and timber, and then they move a little bit over and you're thinking, okay, we're getting somewhere, and it's like nothing. So I feel like even when there's some spots you would expect, okay, they're going to pull up a lot of wood, and they don't pull up any wood. And then they do a drill program later and they find wood there again. I'm like, wait, they did a big caisson, didn't find any wood. So I feel like for me, when Jeff's like, is it here? Is it there? I'm like, it's everywhere. Maybe it's just the big booms or.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like something like the Hedden shaft, 12 by 24, right? And you think, how in the heck can you miss that? Well, you're not missing the shaft. You're missing a piece of wood that's 12 inches wide.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The dirt's still there. Right. That's what you're missing. So if you go down and you move over 3 more feet, well, it's 12 feet wide. You're not going to hit it if you're hitting the sideboard.
Right. And I think they were. I think they were grazing some of this. Sometimes I think they're just grazing along the edge of it as the drill walks, as we know that it does. It's grazing along the edge of things. And so, can you miss it? Absolutely. You can miss these things. So it's, Steve Guptill said you could park a car down there in areas where they have missed due to walking of the drill. Absolutely.
Yep. That's what he told me, sitting right at the table. You put a small car down there in places.
That's hard to imagine. It really is. But yeah, it's very possible, especially when we get to the end of the show tonight, talking about the caisson placements for the upcoming, next few weeks when Rock Equipment Company's out there. You would think that there wouldn't be anywhere down there that would be a space big enough to fit something. But and you think about the fact that how many times can you put a thing down, a drill down and miss them? 400 and some drills, boreholes in one, and you miss it. I don't know. Looks like Rock.
But again, if you're talking about something that's solid silver or solid gold, I mean, you might as well call it solid because it's ingots or coins or whatever, all packed into something. Right. I mean, it doesn't have to be that big to weigh hundreds, if not thousands of pounds.
Yep. Hey, Gretchen. Gretchen's in the house. How you doing, Gretchen? Good to see you. Oh, absolutely. That's the case. And so we'll see what happens here with this coming up. But I think they're back looking in the better area now. This H.25-10.75 is what they were working. Last week they did H.5-10.5, which was just basically just a few feet away. That they did that borehole and they hit wood. And they hit wood below the Hedden shaft. So even though you see here in this picture that they're drilling into where the Hedden shaft was, they're hitting wood below the bottom of it. So that's key to remember there, because the Hedden shaft only went down, 124?
124 feet.
124 feet. So they're down in the 150-foot range, and they're hitting wood. So good stuff there. They did hit wood in these particular holes here. And this is a good chunk right here. It's not the little slivers, even though the little slivers are good too. Because it does mean they're grazing something as they go. They did hit wood pretty significantly in this hole, going down past the bottom of the Hedden shaft. See, they had wood at 130 feet. At 139, they hit more wood. Yep. And they hit some. There's another piece of that. There's another one of them little slivers that they hit, but still, that's important. And then this slurry stuff, this sloppy slurry stuff. What does that tell us when they hit this? I mean, they kind of talked about it a little bit.
Well, it could be cave in, it could be different things, but it's not solid in situ ground.
Correct. Yeah.
What
Exactly.
causes it? It could be the remnants of a tunnel or shaft that was there,
and
could
flooded.
also be part of a slurry channel. So,
Yep, you got the solution channels down there.
mhm.
Their hope is that they've hit the an open area, and we did hear Mike Tedford say that there is an open cavity down there. They asked him, "Is it a void?" And he said, "Yes." He did hit an open area down there. So, and then you hit this would be on the bottom of that, and then some more wood, which they did hit. So they've found something in this area, some sort of a void or a tunnel or something down here underneath the Hedden shaft. So this is good stuff. Here's what Ted said. It got very loose halfway through the run. So 163 feet, more slivers, and very loose, disturbed. That's what Terry called it, disturbed. That's what this is here. Alex said close to searchers' activity, but in unexplored ground. So that's key to.
For me, it's just finding wood down there.
Yep.
Once you find wood, then somebody's been down there.
Yep. Exactly.
Whether it's a big chunk of wood or a splinter, that wood should not be there.
So, is this a good spot for a caisson? Oh, absolutely. I think. I'd get one down there. And I wanted to ask that question. We'll talk about this in a little while, but be thinking yourselves, because I wanted to reach out to those of you watching here tonight and appreciate you guys for showing up. Where would you put a caisson? If you had a choice, if you had a vote in this, where would you put a caisson? Well, don't answer yet, but think about that. And we'll throw those out when we get to that point, when we get talking about those, because I thought I know where I'd put one. But fortunately, I don't have to worry about the money being spent for these, but that would be cool. That would be really cool. Suck out all the slurry and send it through the wash plant. Yeah. Do any of these voids map the? I don't know. That'd be a good question. I think so.
A lot do.
And the muon. Muon technology. I think they do. I'm still fascinated by that one that showed the stairs. They look like stairs down there.
Yeah, the muon data.
Yeah. I mean, was that a fluke of the data, or is that really truly a set of stairs down there? Pretty crazy. Maybe we could ask that on February 19th. Oh, yes.
Yep.
Good. Yeah. Thank you, Linda. And for those of you who didn't hear me talk about that last week, is on February 19th, we got Terry Matheson, Laird Niven, and maybe two. We don't
know. Right now it's up in the air.
We don't know who all may show up, because Laird and I have been talking about, him coming on with a couple of people that he's well connected with, and Laird's going to be coming with Terry Matheson. And so it's supposed to be Terry and Laird, and possibly, we don't know, could be half the folks from the island. We're going to enjoy ourselves, because there is no Curse of Oak Island episode on Tuesday, the 18th. I thought there was, and we were going to be doing a review, Tom and Seth and I.
Yep.
And then we find out there's no show on the 18th on Tuesday night. So we're just going to have fun with those guys, with whoever shows up on the 19th. So it'll be a lot of fun. If you have any questions for Terry, I don't know, Linda, are you going to put that out and ask for questions for Terry and all that? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. All right, let's keep moving on.
Yep. Let's go.
Okay. So over to lot 4, they go. And over there, they've been doing those, going through the spoils from lot 5, the excavations of lot 5. You got Gary and Peter over there, and you see Gary all excited. And he found what he said was a piece of copper with some rivets in it. You see right there. Interesting little piece. You can see the areas where they take and they spread these spoils all out over here. And so they can go over and metal detect them easily. So you would think that they would not miss any of that stuff, but some of that was taken out by an excavator or a backhoe.
Had to be.
Right?
Had to be, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the rocks and all that. You see all those big rocks and everything. That obviously taken out of there with the backhoe. So they just spread them all out and go through them. So that was an interesting find. Then you jump over to lot 5, talking to Fiona and Todd. And the interesting thing they find over there is charcoal. Now, this was the first time, wasn't it, that we found any charcoal over there?
First time they showed it to us.
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like I was kind of waiting for it especially because we were all, there's a barracks, is it out? And I'm like, if there is a lot of men, you're going to have a fire somewhere. Why is there no charcoal anywhere?
Yeah.
And
cook
lo
fire,
and behold,
heating fire, whatever. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, there would have to be something, of course, of some sort of fire. So I'm glad to see they got Marty came over and asked what he could do to help. And I grabbed this picture here, a couple of them actually in this area, because I was trying to figure out exactly where they were in this, what used to be the circle feature, and trying to figure out exactly where they were working in relation to the feature itself. You have to cook and feed everybody, and you have to keep warm in the colder months. So there would have to be a fire. So I think they found maybe where the heart. Now I think were they alluding to the fact that they burned the building down?
That's what I was going to ask you guys, because I thought the same thing of, okay, are they saying there's so much charcoal that this is as charcoal from them burning it to hide it?
I don't know.
There'd be a lot more than that.
I think
you burn it down, and then because they said they intentionally buried it, right? Like we know at one point it was buried, so why not burn whatever structure was on top as well?
And that makes total sense. If you're going to hide it, burn it, like burning a ship in the swamp.
Yeah.
But those rocks aren't burnt.
That's a good point, Tom.
Yeah. No, they're not.
I think they're from cook fires or smelting fires where they're making their lead bullets or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. And that's
the fire pit gets so full after a while, you got to clean it out. What do? You just whip them outside.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and that's what you look here and you see. I think it was Renee said if they had burned the structure before burying it, there would have been way more charcoal. I agree. I think there would have been way more. All right, sorry, I was just trying to get Rumble. For those of you that are watching on Rumble, I'm watching the chat over there too. So if you guys have anything you want to add or ask, let me know. Because it was in and around the walls, they speculated burning. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Here you can see somebody said the north wall. Thank you. And I think that's exactly the case here. It's on the north wall. Mm-hmm. So in other words, it would be where Marty is right there. If he looked up, he'd be looking at the water at the beach.
And when she talked about the clinker or something that showed high heat, that's when I thought maybe part of a forge.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's not going by. So interesting. So I think that it's interesting right here where this is, and you can see some other portions of it as well. So good stuff, though. I'm like you said, I'm really surprised that it took this long to find any charcoal there, and it was on the outside, unless that's where the hearth was or where they were burning.
They found it both inside and outside now, by the sounds of it. So
yeah, it could just be a fire because it was cold during the winter. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
does it get cold during the winter, Tom?
It's a balmy minus 18 here right now. So what's that tell you? Wind chill is going to be minus 27 tonight or some ridiculous amount.
Yeah, exactly. One thing too I wanted to point out was this here. This was one of those maps that had the LiDAR. This was LiDAR that was done back in like season 3, 4, something like that.
It's a while, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I wish they'd get Pete Kelsey out there to LiDAR to this island again, because I think there's much more to be said. But we're looking at this, and somebody pointed this out, and they're looking at this. What is this structure? Now, you see the two structures, the circle structure and the square one on lot 5, very close to the beach there. And then you see this here in the circle.
Yeah.
You would think that the guys have already seen this. The folks there working in lot 5 would have already seen something, but that looks like there's some sort of a foundation or a wall or
big, whatever it is.
Yeah, I was going to say it's big.
It's much bigger than
it's the width of a whole lot pretty near.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It's almost the width of the entire.
So it's walls or something, containment walls or something for livestock or something maybe.
Absolutely. So that's worth investigating. I'm going to have to ask Laird about that. Laird, I'm going to keep this picture, keep this picture handy so we can ask Laird. Have you looked over here at all? So, but that's cool. So again, going back to this, one of these pictures that you see that Zane's been working on, and you got that there. They said the original circle structure was 60 by 40, I believe. Is that when Jamie Kuba, when she had that little machine and she walked over with that machine? Yeah,
they're using the ground penetrating radar. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah,
it was big then when they outlined it, and I thought to myself, "My goodness, is really that big? Really?"
Yeah.
And then, well, time has told us that it really is that big.
Yeah. Zombie Driver asks, what does that line up with? Does that line up with Zena's map? Maybe the hatch. Zane, check that out and let us know what you think. Does that line up with where the hatch is supposed to be? I don't know. Let's find out. Okay. He said he'll look. Good deal. All right. Let's jump over to the lab. Okay. They got over here to the lab and they got Mr. Carmen Legg. And that's why we got his painting that we're giving away here tonight. Carmen, what a great guy this man is. He really is.
Really is. Yep.
He's got his website too. You can check it out, carmenlegg.com. He's got his merch that he's wearing right there. Yeah, they bring him over and, they got two things on the table, but they only ask him about, we only get to see one. I don't know. That other one kind of looks like a spike of some sort.
It's a spike. I zoomed in on as best I could. I think it's just a spike.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like just a spike or something. This right here. Yeah. Metal spike of some sort. It must not have been all that important because obviously we didn't see it on the show. Didn't make the cut. But they are looking at this, and somebody said they saw a date on here. I'm always zooming in looking for dates.
I looked.
I could not find a date. Somebody said they saw July something on here, and I don't see it.
They saw July. I missed it totally because I looked and I thought, okay, so they're outsmarting us again. Right? They're not even putting dates on the cards of the bags anymore.
Or maybe they got the little piece of metal covering it up.
Probably on the back of the card.
Probably on the back. Yeah. They put it on the back.
Today's date is don't tell Jeff, Tom, and Seth.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They're trying to keep that away from us, so we don't know what they're sliding in on dates and stuff. But interesting, this little piece here, belter, bag, mount, for whatever. What do you think about this thing? Gary was talking about it being part of a article of clothing or maybe a piece of like a belt strap or something like that out of copper though with rivets.
I could see that. It was decorative, maybe on a maybe it's something you'd hang over your shoulder to carry ammunition or supplies in. Something that's leather, something that's you're gonna drive a rivet through it. Mm-hmm. You're not going to put a rivet next to your skin.
Yeah, I could see it like weighting a flap on a leather satchel or pouch, or even being on a belt. Kind of, the belt made sense if it was like a leather belt.
You could sink those rivets right into the leather, and they wouldn't be.
Yep. And they're pretty flat. So if this was on a piece of leather, and that looks like about the thickness, underneath here. Of leather. So what did I think Carmen said it was a nameplate of some sort?
He thought it was probably a nameplate, yeah.
Yep. And then we got the dating from Emma because she went through the machines that they talked about over and over again, and said that it was had arsenic.
Makes it old, right?
Yep.
She said 1600s. That's what I wrote down.
Did they speculate who, like English, French, or?
Well, that puts it, if you're talking middle to late 1600s, that's who? Phipps? Phipps again? Phipps. Or maybe even fits into James McQuiston's.
James McQuiston's got stuff going on then,
Yep.
Champlain was around then, 1604.
Yep.
French. So, I mean, a lot of players.
Yeah. Again, they find something that fits into that 1600 time frame. So interesting. I thought very interesting to pull that out. But the more they find over there, the more it just kind of leads to that to believe. Oh, I had one more picture of it here. This is when Carmen was looking at it, I guess. And again,
see, whatever it went through wasn't that thick. Which, to Seth's point, a piece of leather like a belt. or shoulder strap, something
Right.
along that line.
Yeah. Something along those lines. All right. So, interesting stuff as they go along. Keep finding these things. Now we're going to jump over to the swamp. And this, we get to this box over here again. And I grabbed this particular picture here because of the fact you can really see how close to the road it is over here. A good vantage point. And even though, they got, they caught you over there and with the shop vac.
Shop
Craig
vac guy, yep. Maintenance coming through. Maintenance.
got a spill in the swamp. In the swamp.
Yeah. Clean up in aisle 3.
Yep. Oh yeah. We are gonna and yes, we're gonna do a giveaway. Hang on. I did think about it. We'll get to that here in a minute. We'll stop here in just a moment. We'll do the giveaway. But yeah, so bringing over the shop vac to clean it out once again, and you got Katya. She's doing some scanning in the bottom of the hole. Laird's over there, and there's Rick. They want to dig it and see what might be there. I was talking about that a little bit in Discord again last night, looking at the fact that once you document this thing very well, I really want to get underneath it. And I was even going as far as destroying it to get underneath it by digging the whole thing up. But I'm glad they didn't. Because it is a nice piece of the island, something that was there, and you hate to tear anything up like that. But I think
we don't don't know how historically significant it is, but it's still there. It's part of the history. It's part of the island.
They did dig alongside. Over here on this side, you can see they dug very well along the edge to see if there was something coming out of it. It appears, even though I thought it looked like it went back underneath this this edge right here goes back underneath. And I was thinking that, man, that might make it, go back and it be deeper or bigger than it looks at the opening. But obviously they must not go very far. So
yeah, I was hoping it'd be part of a tunnel system,
Yeah, me too.
And underneath it would go, offset somewhere. It's, what I think whatever was in it is gone, but it had to have been for something important. Like, I don't think it's a well or that sort of.
It's purposeful, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom found, we kind of looked at that one little piece there that had the hole in it, a week ago, but I don't know. It looks like kind of like a piece of lead.
Looks like a piece of lead sheathing to me, but
yeah. Or something rolled up.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's this piece right here. Got the hole in the top. I don't know. It's hard to say what it is, but they've set it out there and they never took it to the, to get it analyzed.
Anything lead, if it's lead, it's got to be analyzed.
It has to be.
Because they've got a database to compare it against, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So hard to say what it is. I don't know. Not part of the vacuum. Brian, I don't think it's an outhouse. And, we've had several people on different, places on social media talking about this thing. And I'm gonna really step out on a limb and say I do not believe this is an outhouse.
If it's part of any sort of a stone pathway that's all around it, right? That's not a place you would think that they're going to be putting an outhouse.
Right there, 3 foot deep, lined with slate, and bottom is brick. That's why I'm saying it is not an outhouse, because I don't think you're going to take and worry about lining the bottom of your outhouse with bricks. All those bricks you see stacked up, there was a big stack. Rick took them all out of the bottom and handed them over to Alex, who was stacking them up. And we had a picture of that last week. So you're not going to line an outhouse with those, because you're never going to bother with the bottom of it ever again. You don't care that it's just dirt down there, right? I mean, matter of fact, you prefer that there was dirt down there. So, so things would go back into the ground, right? So that's why I'm saying it's not an outhouse, period. So, Tom pointed out a couple more things that we never heard of on the show. Well, thank you, Craig. Make a deposit in the Freeman's File Brick Bank. Nice. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that, sir.
Like just happened to notice that sitting on top of the rock there, and
Yeah,
when I first the piece in the middle, it's got the hole in it.
that's like
The
that
first,
crank that they found.
well, something that goes on a cranker. The first thing I thought it looked like one of those open-ended wrenches. You get the open-ended
Yeah,
wrench on one end, and then the
box end wrench.
part that goes on. Yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
I'm sure they would have addressed it if it was, but I thought it looked like bone right away.
On either side of it, certainly. Yep.
Yeah, the pieces on either side kind of do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that piece in the middle, I thought, okay, well, what is it? Something more modern that they found, and they just kind of tossed it up there, and we're never going to hear about it again.
Yep. Cold storage, yes, that could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Tom talked about that last week. It could be some sort of cold storage.
That's wrong. If it and just because it's used for cold storage doesn't mean you couldn't, hide something in the bottom of it. It could be both.
Right. And you think about this too, going back in time. And you heard Ian even talk about this when he was out there looking at this. You go back in time to some degree, and this probably was dry ground. It probably wasn't saturated with it was a swamp as it is today back then.
No.
So even if you wanted to put your store of your treasure chest in there, you're not going to put it in an area that's going to be flooded with water all the time. So,
and they found the glass jars in there and different things.
Yeah.
So,
the glass that was in it and everything else. So, could be cold storage for sure. There's no doubt about that. And it would not. I don't believe it would have been wet back then. So,
yeah. So I mean, you put your bottle of silver or coins or whatever on the bottom, and then you put a layer of boards, and then you put your other stuff on top, and there you go.
Yep.
False bottom.
So, yeah. So here you've got a look at where they were trying to show the property that is owned, that was purchased by Anthony Graves, and how much he owned from lot 5 all the way up to Isaac's Point.
Mm-hmm.
All those lots right there. He did own a lot of it, and he put his house right there in the north of the swamp. You're not going to put your house right there where the wet part is, if it was wet back then. So that's why I'm thinking it probably wasn't wet. That's another thing, another reason to mention why it wasn't wet. They did have Kathy down there doing some scanning, and she did come up with a piece of lead. There got a couple different pictures of this thing. I'm not sure it was kind of a cone shaped thing. I don't know. What do you make of that? What do you think it is?
It's got a center hole cut in it, so it's suspended off of something or hung off of something, flat on the bottom. Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah, I really don't. Yeah,
I can say
the
only thing I can say, if it's lead, get it to the lab.
Yep.
They've got the database for lead, like the cross and whatever else, right? They'll be able to tell if that lead is local, imported, where it came from. They'll be able to get a geographic sense of where that lead originated.
Plumb bob, fishing weight.
I thought fishing weight, just because the hole drilled in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, no doubt about it. Definitely could be.
Could be a weight for a fishing net, toss net. Yep.
Oh yeah, for a net. Yeah, there you go.
I did appreciate Katya, her enthusiasm when she is dealing with the hole. She's like, as soon as I've seen this thing, I've wanted to get to the bottom of it. And I was like, amen, right? Like,
I know, I would have.
That's the dream. Yeah.
I mean, how many others? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, give me all the swamp vacs, shop vacs, and let's drain this thing. Let's get to the bottom.
Yep.
You say there's stones? I don't know. Let's keep digging.
She's learning from the master, though, because she doesn't do any of the dirty work. She's not doing any of the digging.
Yeah. What is it about metal detecting that you can't get dirty?
Oh, right. I do. When I go out, just swinging the detector, I do get dirty. No doubt about it. My pants and everything. Yeah.
It almost looks like a square pattern on the top of that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was really trying to zoom in on this thing to see if I could get a better look, if there was any kind of design or anything, but I don't see
Go back to one of your other shots there. It's got a square. No, back one more. There, see the top?
Oh, yeah.
Square?
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So does that mean it was forced up against something that squared it off like that? Something sitting on it?
Yeah.
Maybe something sitting on it, square leg.
Yeah. Hard to say. Hopefully they'll analyze it and we'll find out a little bit more about it, because that's interesting. And then, Emma has that lead database now.
Exactly. That's what we need. We need to get it to the lab, get that database fired up.
She can tell by its makeup. She can tell where it came from, what country.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is cool. That's very cool. She has amassed, her and Laird, they have amassed a massive database of materials. It's pretty impressive, honestly. This was the lead weight that they had found back a couple seasons ago, back when Dr. Aaron Taylor was there, and it was used for, it's a money weight, for weighing money. Excuse me. And this was definitely, this is what you would imagine when you see some sort of a weight, a scale weight.
Right.
Something like this, not something like that. But that doesn't mean that wasn't used for something like that. But so interesting. Then we got, of course, Scott Clark. They showed him again as they were going back talking about FIPS, because more and more and more of the things that they're finding pertaining to Lot 5 and now this area of the swamp has something, seems as though it has something to do with FIPS time frame and the conception and the money that didn't make it back to the UK and everything. So I think it's going to be a FIPS summer. Yeah, they've certainly talked about him enough, haven't they, Timmy? Every episode, you see his face.
Yep.
Sometimes more than once. And what I thought was kind of interesting was this here, talking about all the things they're finding in here: the cobblestone, the log platform, the eye of the swamp, and now that little vault, all kind of in this area. So Rick was talking about continuing to go north and scraping it off. If there's another, and this is something that this cobblestone, they're finding this in so many areas of the swamp all the way down along here. We know that there by Nolan's Peninsula, they had that big, I call it, they call it a paved area. I was calling it a platform of some sort right here. Was this all area? Was it all built up with those stones?
Yes.
It kind of appears it was, doesn't it? I mean,
every side of, I've point to me one spot where they haven't found some sort of man-made paved structure, road, platform, whatever, on that whole side of the swamp from the very bottom to the top, right?
And all the way down through here. Yeah, all the way down. They went all the way to the southeast corner of the swamp.
So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that there was actually a channel through there? And this was all along the edge of the channel? That the Smith's Cove, that it wasn't a swamp, that there was free-flowing water through there?
Could have been. Absolutely could be.
Or was what they were depositing in the eye of the swamp. So that's why they needed something from that bottom to the eye, or the top of it.
There are more answers to be found in this swamp than we ever imagined, I think. And then when they're going to continue, does it go on over here, go to the north shore?
Well, I mean, they were following the road up towards the pine tar kiln, and I feel like they still didn't uncover all of that they could have.
I think you're right.
I think there's road, obviously there's old pictures too where we can see some going to the money pit. And didn't they speculate that offshoot down by the bottom corner of the swamp kind of went that way too?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what I thought we were going to see a little bit more of, maybe with like just getting some modern LiDAR of the road, all the roads that have existed, or evidence of it. Because
it would be nice to get a modern one done, because I'm sure the technology has changed enough that you're going to improve those images.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I'd love to get Pete Kelsey out there and LiDAR that whole island again. Why they haven't yet, I don't know, because I think that's an important thing to do. Man. Get him out there.
I agree with that Sugar Shack, that the swamp was made with the original dig. I feel like whoever built up the road, if you can figure out that, I
Yep.
think that's going to be a big part of
Yep.
whoever deposited the. Or
Well, that's the
start,
thing,
'cause-
right? You think you go into the swamp, you can go back to 1200.
Yeah. And I agree with the multi-generational thing, because at this
Mm.
point, it's like, what else explains it? But then you have key big players like Phipps. Like he
Yep.
has a huge connection to the Lot 5 stuff, I think. I think Phipps was over there and
Yep.
built a lot of what we're looking at. But
And we know this information was passed down and passed around and everything since the Templars, right? So
I think it could
Vikings,
have.
Norse, Templars, the location has been passed around. No question about it.
Yeah, and when they say like maybe they were depositing physical treasure, but also knowledge as well by building structures that the initiated could look at and understand and get mathematical stuff
Yeah.
from. Yeah, that's my unarticulated version of say like I
Well, I
think
mean-
that this was an initiate. I think this is a ritual site as well.
You've got
So we have to look at it like from that lens too. They're not just depositing physical treasure; they're leaving some sort of message to their.
Well,
descendants.
if you follow the Francis Bacon theory, there could be works of Shakespeare and great works of knowledge buried
Oh,
there.
I love that theory. Absolutely.
And and we're going to talk about a little bit of that when we get to the Hedden show here tonight,
Mhm.
because that's something that Gilbert Hedden was looking into. Why? Because he found those mercury those bottles that had what he said was mercury in them.
We did,
and we know that they found parchment, and even these guys found parchment.
And
I was looking at another video going back to H8, and I had forgotten how much leather and parchment pieces
I was going to say they
in
found
H8.
so much leather and pieces of paper that they brought to that really cool guy. I forget his name.
Oh, yeah, it was the bookbindery up in
Mhm.
Halifax.
Mm.
I forgot. I don't remember his name either, but yeah,
They were going to him for a lot of stuff for a couple of seasons.
yeah, they were. So is it possible? I think it is. And why else would you get? And they went to Dr. Well, we'll talk about this with the grave stuff, because I've got some stuff with that. But yeah, that's it. Landry.
Mr.
Landry. Thank you,
Thank
Linda.
you, Linda.
That was, you're right. It was Landry. Yeah. So I don't know. But here you see this one here shows the brick vault and then Graves' home. Very close. Would he have put a little hidey hole? Or that's why I think he found it. I think he found that. And that's just my unprofessional opinion. That he found that and there was something in it, and that's why he may have been trading with gold and silver coins.
Keep an eye on the place.
Maybe, like he's keeping an eye on the spot. It's real close to the eye. Maybe treasure was in the eye, but he knew somebody who knew where it was coming to find it. So he temporarily moved it, because like a lot of the treasure that is suspected to be, I'm one of the people that's like, oh, I think the biblical treasures have been on the island, I think some have been removed. So maybe this was built for him to just temporarily move the treasure and hide it from somebody for a little bit.
Yeah. And to Gretchen's point, Templarism is multi-generational. The Templars pass the information along. I mean, you can't put 500 people on an island and say, shh, nobody tell anybody we were here.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. The platform was dated to 1200s by Dr. Spooner, Gretchen. Yep, exactly. So that
crazy.
road goes way back. And if this brick vault seems to have the cobble of the pathway all around it or near it, goes right by it. So I think he found something. I think he found it and he kept it there and he was hiding it, and he was keeping an eye on it with his house right there, because I mean, would you be, if you owned from lot 5 to lot 20,
I was just going to say one guy doesn't need 15 lots, 4 acres a lot. What's that? 60 acres?
Yeah. And you got high ground over by the money pit, and you got low ground right here in the swamp, and you got a little bit higher ground over by lot 5. This is the lowest area where storms and everything is going to storm surge stuff coming through there. Would you put your house here?
No,
I wouldn't, unless I was trying to keep an eye on something.
You don't build your house that close to the water.
Exactly. I wouldn't. In the lowest area? I don't know.
Lot 15 and 16 is about a 52-foot elevation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
That's the highest spots on the island.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I wouldn't put my house there. I can tell you that. Not unless I was trying to keep track of something, maybe.
No, I
But
mean, there's better places to put it out of the storm and out of the wind. You put a house down that low point between two valleys, basically,
oh,
and
yeah.
that's where the wind and the water is going to drive to, right?
Yep.
Not a good place to build.
No, not at all. So, yeah.
Yeah,
There
we
you
need
go.
to get rid of that road and dig all through there.
Yeah. Sorry, Tom. We're coming
Yeah.
across your road.
Bring your boat.
Yeah. 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 We're going right across it. Now, here's something I wanted to point out again. I was looking at this again the other day. This is the picture of the drawings that were in a book that was shown by John Edwards in the War Room. And this was in that. This is the book, not any copy of this book, but this particular copy of this book that Rick Lagina was looking for. And I don't think they found it. The FLX 157. And what did I notice when I looked at this again the other day? Something popped out. Now I still think, you got Oak Island, and then you got these three. I'm going to say these little three things right here they look like those. There's sinkholes if you've been to Oak Island, if you've driven up to the causeway, when you're right there at the causeway, there is three sinkholes that are on the mainland, just inside the mainland, that kind of line up with these three boxes right here, whatever those are. And then you got the Gold River going up to the castle at what? New Ross?
New Ross, yep.
But here's the thing and then you got this other stuff. Here's the thing that I noticed on this. This little box right here. And where's it pointing to? This is supposed to be the flood tunnel, I think. Or maybe it's supposed to be the money pit or something. But where's that box? What's the box? Where's it pointing to?
The grave site?
Kind of looks like it's on the north side of the swamp,
The north
doesn't it?
side. Yep, it's the north side. Yep. It runs into Jodrie's Cove.
Right through Jodrie's Cove, yeah. I saw that and I went, oh, wait just a minute. Yeah, it would have to have been done after the island was divided up into lots in 1764, was it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mid 1700s, yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I just happened to, I looked at it again and went, well, that seems awfully weird that it's right here by the quadrilateral. Maybe it might be closer to that. Maybe they're just talking about the money pit, or the flood drains, and that's supposed to be Smith's Cove over there in a quick drawing. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I just thought it was kind of interesting that box, which is kind of like the box they just found, and it looks like it's pointing toward the north side of the swamp. Just found that curious. So, all right. Oh, look at this. And this is, again, why look how it looks now. When you don't touch it for a while and you don't suck out all the water, what happens to that box? It doesn't take long.
It's going to naturally fill up with water, especially if it's raining at all. And we've seen a couple of scenes here where it was raining a bit. So,
yeah,
water runs downhill.
Yeah, it don't take long for that thing to fill up with water and be done. All right, one last picture, and then we're going to do the giveaway. I wanted to show this here. Now it looks like they're starting to work that. Remember, we were talking about, and Rick had mentioned going north with the excavation work, heading that way, and I think that's what they're doing. They're really starting to get that going that direction.
Yeah,
the box is actually sitting right about here, but I think they're going to start working that way, and I think it's good to get doing that. So.
Well, they had to get going there because what was it that Billy said when he was out there and they were talking about doing it? He said, let's do it now while I'm on good bottom.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So in other words, he's on solid ground, like the cess point, that side of the swamp. He's on solid ground. Get out in the middle, you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, let's do the giveaway. And then we'll jump over to the war room. We'll get through the caisson placements. And then we're going to talk about the Hedden episode of Tales of Oak Island. Linda, you ready?
Yes.
There she is. Yes.
Yes, I am.
All right. And again, folks, we have the print of Carmen's painting that he did. This is print 11 of 100. You can see where he signed it there, Carmen Legg. And then we have the coasters donated by Kat. Thank you very much, Kat, for that. All right, we'll do this giveaway now. To be eligible for this giveaway, you must be a member of our Facebook group page, The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, link down below in the description. Linda will put up a post with the pictures for the coming week's giveaway, and all you have to do is comment on that post saying yes, and you'll be eligible to for the drawing. And then you must be present to win here at the podcast. So we'll give about a minute or so once we get a name.
Yeah, you have to respond in a fairly short amount of time. Like your friends can't call you at home and say, "Get on there quick."
Yeah, right. So we'll give you a minute, but and also if your name is different in Facebook when you say yes to what it is on YouTube, when you say I'm here, you gotta try to use the same name because
I have a list.
Yeah.
I have 10 names in here, and that's all that are different. So if you're different, I need to know so that I can keep track of you.
Right.
Yeah, we're not doing the Francis Bacon and Jake Roberts ciphering here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Tom might, but I'm not.
Or Champlain, or
Bacon, Raleigh, you name it.
Yeah, Bacon or Raleigh or Peter Easton. Yeah. All right. What do you think? You ready, Linda?
I am ready.
Let's get you in solo layout so we can see what's going on.
Okay.
Brian O'Reilly. Brian O'Reilly, are you here? I don't know that I've seen him.
He was here a little bit ago.
Was he? All right.
Yep.
Brian, are you here? Let us know. Got a little. Oh, I'm here. There he is, right off the bat. Boom.
All right. Thanks, cool. Brian. Send me your address if I don't have it already on Messenger, and I'll get that out to you this week.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Congratulations. All right. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right.
To the war room.
He should almost get a bonus prize for the fastest.
I know. We didn't take long to say I'm here.
No respin.
There's my big brother. Hello, big brother.
That's a cool. That's a cool.
You didn't win again, big brother. So
Yeah. Sorry, Bill. Yeah. You didn't get in there this time. But that's a cool painting. I would love to, or print from his painting.
That is, really nice. Yeah.
That's really good. That is a multi-talented man right there.
I tell you what.
All right, let's jump over to the war room because we're going to push through and get over to some tales here a little bit. In the war room, you got all the guys in here staring at a picture on the table. What is this picture? It is a picture of an overhead of the money pit and all the caissons that are currently or have been in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're talking about the placement. Now they're at that point of the season, which should be around August, I would say, somewhere in that range, where they're saying, okay, it's time to, talk about where we want to put these through the drill program that they have done. Again, I don't know how many holes they drilled this season. A lot. There's been a lot.
I don't know, but they've been at it for a while.
All the ones that were up around the Baby Blob area and behind the garden shaft are up around that area. And then all the ones down here, a lot. But each one of them tells a story. Even if they find nothing, it tells a story. So one of the things that, that you can see in here a little bit, I wish I had a view because they talked about this at the end of season 11 on the very last episode, number 25. They were talking about some of these spots that they would put a caisson in, and they never got to any of them. So now is their opportunity. And here's that question that I had asked earlier in the show. If you had an opportunity to put one, where would you put it? Where would you put? And I see right there is Tim Gallant got mine. Aladdin's Cave. I'd put one in Aladdin's Cave.
That's a good one.
Go ahead.
That was in the final show last year. That's what they said. Aladdin's Cave was sort of the number one spot to go to.
Yep. I would definitely put one in there. What else? Same.
Are we able to get a diver down the caisson and into the
7-footer. That these new ones are 7-footers. So yeah, probably so. Some of these, my area, besides Aladdin's Cave, if I could have a second choice, would be I would want one in that. Remember that 7-foot high tunnel that they were chasing that went all the way from up here on the hill, and it went across the corner of the garden shaft. I'd put one right in here somewhere.
Yep.
Yes.
Because I want to see what's in that tunnel. Or make access to that tunnel. Something. Get down there.
Yep. Exactly.
So that would be my second choice. What about you folks? Circle Aladdin's Cave.
I would want
Aladdin's
to put one over there because I think that water flow in that tunnel over by the garden shaft is much more important to get down in there and get a camera, get an ROV, get something into that water channel, find out what's going on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep,
all these spots are so good.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. C1, I believe, is right there. I think that's C1 right there. But all these, you would think that you look at all of these holes, all these places where there's caissons. Oh, there's C1. Yep, right there. Right in between these three big ones is C1. H8 is right here. H8 had a void at the bottom. So did C1. And H8 had the bones. It had the parchments. It had the old hammer. Was that no? Was that R? No, it wasn't H8. RF1 had that hammer. RF1 had that chisel. That old what am I trying to say? Pickaxe, like a pick.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an old, very encrusted pick that was found down in that was RF1, which is right here. This is RF1 right here. And of course, C1, H8, all of those have very good targets. Now, or are very good targets. Now, what he wanted to do was put one. Oh, I grabbed this picture here because of these two spots, these two red spots. We were trying to figure out what they were. They finally said in the show last night. These were the two spots, and you've heard him say this on the show multiple times, that they found soil samples from Lot 5, the underneath that stone that they pulled up, Cone D or Cone E, Cone E, I think it was, and the money pit at 150 feet that all matched up. The soil samples matched up. Emma was able to say that they were all of the same. These were the two spots that she got the samples from at about 150 feet down in the money pit. Those two red dots right there.
Does that make whoever swapped the dirt from those sites, does that make it the oldest people that we know and operating in the money pit? Because to me, that's what I think it's like, right? Like, I don't know, but I don't know if I'm articulating that enough.
It ties all three of those spots together, and you put that into a time frame.
So that'd be the 1600s, right? It's definitely before any other searchers that we know of.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So these are depositors, I would think. That's where I would go.
I would say yes.
I want them to go over by that garden shaft, and I'll tell you the reason why. I think there's a connection between the garden shaft and the Hedden shaft that they haven't explored yet. And I'll tell you the reason why.
All right.
1938, they drilled 58 holes. Hedden and Hamilton drilled 58 holes in and around the money pit. Okay. However, what they did was next to the chapel shaft and the money pit are just being a few feet apart, they hit water. And do you know what the water flow rate was?
What? 800
gallons a minute.
Where have we heard that before?
That the garden shaft flow rate?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, within 100 gallons. Yep. So that's what I'm thinking. There's a connection somehow between those two locations.
So is the garden shaft a search trying to get to the treasure tunnel or trying to shut off the water tunnel?
Don't
know. And Tom had mentioned before about building one tunnel or a shaft to put the water in from another one, right?
Yep. And they also did it for ventilation.
Yep.
Put one shaft next to another cross tunnel, and that would be your ventilation shaft.
I feel like that's by the garden shafts where they saw what looked like spirals staircase, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Would
keep in mind,
depositors
this is
really bury
all
treasures that deep?
taking place 150 feet underground, and we rhyme these numbers off now, like 150 feet, 129 feet, 123 feet. Well, folks, 150 feet is a 15-story building.
So, what do you guys?
15-story building
question from
digging. Yeah.
Would depositors really bury something treasure that deep? A regular pirate would not. A pirate would put something like that box you see in the swamp.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody more experienced, like a Templar or something, would they?
Mm-hmm.
I think they would, especially if it was a long-term thing.
You've got the manpower.
You got the manpower, and you got the knowledge.
Mm-hmm. So who's got the manpower and the knowledge?
Right.
I would have a really hard time believing that they could do that, because like you're saying, the manpower, and I'm like, yeah, but still. But for me, the road is a huge thing, because I'm like, well, they built the road, and that is a huge road done in the, for what reason, who knows, in the 1200s. That's just to be able to build to level out and do anything. That's so much work for what? So yeah, that maybe they would go that deep.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Beaches and
well, we know they went that deep in Europe, right? They're digging tunnels and caves, and the amount of work they did, the amount of work that they put into it over there.
Look at that place that Gretchen in Rawson Cave.
Gretchen just said the Templars engineered massive tunnels.
Is that where this is where they got their knowledge? It seems like, while they were on the Temple Mount digging around.
Yeah.
Yep. The Welsh miners, to Linda's point. Yeah, there were Welsh miners that were brought over from Great Britain, dropped off on the Port Royal side, disappeared, and then reappeared a year later.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the rumor was they went from the Port Royal side, which is the Bay of Fundy side of Nova Scotia, across over towards Oak Island or Halifax, somewhere to the east and not to the west. But there were a group of Welsh miners that were dropped off there. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You look at the types of things that the Templars have done, like Gretchen was just saying there too about Acre. I mean, massive tunnels, massive works, deep underground, chiseling through rock, which is why I say they need to get down in the bedrock instead of up above it. But massive stuff and very complex. And look at remember where Corian took the team, and they were looking at those ones that had the high ceiling, and now those were caves, but you could see a lot of carving was done in there. And that one place that he took them where it has the layout of it was like the lead cross, with the head and the arms and all that. I mean, yeah, they would do something that elaborate. They really would.
That's a good point.
So the manpower, I mean, those were carved in stone. This is a mixture of stone, slate, in situ, glacier till, soil, but the engineering and the ability and the will would have been there to do it, and the manpower.
And the manpower.
These guys did not travel light.
Nope. Yeah. So there you go. Zane was saying about this spot here that I'm going to bring back up. This spot right here. Nothing else is around it. This is where he wants to. Steve wants to put a caisson in this spot right here. So I think it's a good idea. They started drilling, and you can see here. This is one of those drills that walked. It started here. It ended way over here. So if that drill was supposed to hit at the bottom of this spot, it didn't. It missed it by a long shot. So, is it possible that it's something down there? Oh, absolutely. The size of a small car. Here it is again. You see that this area, this big circle here, is not a caisson. That's just an area of interest. But this is that circle right here where he wants to put a caisson down. So I think it's a good shot. And does that kind of line up to where the place is where the caisson was left in the ground when they left the money pit in October or whatever? Yeah, it's very close to there. Could that be the spot? I don't know.
It's like everybody was right there. but not. You see Dunfeld, and it's everything's. It's funny that we're back to thinking this is the spot.
Right. This right here is the Hamilton extension, I believe, that he did on Hedden's. The Hedden shaft that was put down. I think that's Hamilton's extension right there. So interesting. I think it's time to get one down there. But yeah, that's what I voted for, a couple of those spots. Here it is again, where he put the toonie on there. Or was that a $2 Canadian coin?
Toonie, that's a $2 coin. Yeah, toonie. Yep.
So right in between these other three caissons, boom, right there. Put it in the ground. And if you look, this is what I was looking at. And this is where that line right there, that's pretty close to that alignment of the caisson that was left in the ground.
Yep.
Could that be the one? I think it could be.
Yes.
I think it could be.
This one's the one.
Yep. The one. So good stuff, I think, to carry on. So, and here's another one Zane made, another map that he put together, and he laid out the Hedden shaft and over there in the area of interest right here. So that's where they want to put that one of the caissons in right there. And you see how close it in. And Hedden and Chappell and all them, they kind of figured they knew where the money pit was.
They were pretty confident that that's the general area that they were in.
Right. Yep.
They're doing 5 to 6, they said. Or that's their goal, 5 to 6 caissons?
5 to 6. And last year was up to 9, which was the original plan.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
What happened that they scaled it back? I don't know.
Yeah.
Timing, cost, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is from season 11. They were talking about 9 possible sites. Yeah, and one of them was Aladdin's Cave. And all these over here are all the ones in the Baby Blob area and over behind the garden shaft. So that's all scrubbed now. I don't think they're going to bother with that area at all.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, it didn't sound like it. So now you're concentrating on these over here. So Aladdin's Cave was here, and then you got the other ones over by the Hedden and the Chapel shaft. So yep, we'll see what comes of that. And I don't know, are we gonna? I think we're getting close to. I think next week we're gonna start seeing, at least see the rock equipment show up with some of their stuff, because here you've got the new stuff coming out here for the material.
Building a new pad. They're building
the pad back up. Yeah, building it all nice and flat again, and making it so that it can take the oscillator and the crane and all that kind of stuff. So they're working on it. So I think we're going to see that next week. And then they put these out there, and I was wondering, I saw this at the end of the show, and I thought, were these where the ones were? That's C1. C1 is this one right here. Are these where they were, or are these potential new ones? I don't know.
Different sizes, so.
Yeah. Oh, right. They'd be 7-footers, right? So, but C1 and again, I don't know. Interesting.
That's an old photo too. The ground is still brown.
Could be. Yep. I thought it was kind of cool.
As opposed to all the crushed rock they've dumped in there over the years, right?
Yeah, it could be an old photo, Cat. Yeah, for sure.
I think it is.
All right, next time on the Curse of Oak Island, they find more wood in the swamp. There's something else they're finding down there. I don't know what that is. Kind of looks like a piece of pipe, doesn't it? I mean, it could be a tree branch or something, but I don't know. It kind of looks like that piece of pipe they took up out of the box. That looks pretty interesting. More here's some wood with a
post. Yeah.
A post, and then flat wood laying there. I'm kind of curious about what's up for next week. I think it's going to be an interesting. Okay, all right. Yeah, we don't know when the caissons are actually going to show up on the island. We'll see what episode that is. If it's not next week, it'll have to be the one on the 25th or something
February
like that.
5th, Caissons.
Yeah. They talked about this map, Blair's map, and we were trying to make heads or tails of this thing. I don't know.
I haven't looked at it, so I really don't have anything.
We're gonna have to wait until they explain this some more. Zane was trying to put this map on. So he's got it setting over off of lot. What is that? Lot 2 to lot 4, lot 5.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the little
Round
island out
island.
there, because here's
Round
your
island.
causeway down here.
There's the lab and everything else there on there too. So yeah,
Yep. Yep. So that's
we're talking
interesting.
lot 3 or 4 maybe at the most.
Yeah.
There's
So
6.
that's
Got 6 marked on the diagram there. So
yeah. So is that lot 4 or 5, 6 area? Is that where they think that there's other treasures hidden? Lot 5 could have a lot more secrets held there than what we know. Good for sure. Then they find a stone with an X on it. Where did that come from? Is that on the island?
Yeah, but where?
Well, where exactly? Yeah, X marks the spot, right? Pick that sucker up, see what's under it.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see what makes that what that is all about. And then they were digging around this big boulder right here, and they get a hit, and you hear Gary, "Ooh!" So he's all excited about something they found. They were excited about whatever
Found
it was.
another button. Found another button.
Yes, another button. Yeah, another button. You never know, but they were very excited about whatever it was that they dug up out of here. And I don't know who that is. That's not Terry DeVoe. I don't know who that is.
Kind of looks like
I
him.
think it might be.
Yeah. You think so? It might be him.
Yeah, that's Terry.
Okay. All right. That's why I thought at first, when I first glanced, I thought maybe it was Terry. But yeah, so they're pretty excited about something they found. So we'll see next week. We'll get a better look at all of that.
Looks like Terry anyway.
Yeah, it does. It does kind of. All right. So that wraps it up for that. We are going to talk about, if any of you want to hang out, we're going to jump over here and we're going to talk about Tales of Oak Island in the Gilbert Hedden episode.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Right? Ooh, what is that? Yeah. Let me know.
We're heading over to talk about Hedden.
We're heading over to talk about Hedden. All right.
Oh, Jan, thanks for the notes, Jan.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you very, very much. Yes. All right. So let me get my pictures together. I did gather up a few. Of course, you know me. I always
there was some good pictures in that.
There was.
So
I thought they hadn't. And yeah, it shouldn't take us too long for those of you who want to hang out with us and talk about this, because I thought all the tales have given us some very, very good information. And it was more in depth than what we normally get on the show in some cases. And I thought this was one of them. One of the things that I found interesting about Hedden's, it was called Hedden's Hunt. Let me get my pictures up here. Do I need to run the logo again? No, I guess
insert logo here. Yeah.
Yeah, insert logo here, right? All right. So Hedden's Hunt. This was interesting because Gilbert Hedden, I found it very interesting about how articles. It was the Reader's Digest 1960 June 1965 article that got Dan Blankenship, the Laginas. How many other people got pulled into this whole treasure mystery by that article in the Reader's Digest? And Hedden got pulled into this by looking at the New York Times. It was a New York Times article from 1926 called "Tide Guards Oak Island Buried Gold."
Mm-hmm.
So it pulls in, I mean, how many, is there anybody in the chat right now that actually ever saw the 1965 Reader's Digest article? I did.
Have I seen it? Kid. Yes, I've held the Reader's Digest in my hand thanks to
Did
Jeff
you?
Irving. Jeff Irving's got one.
Mr. Irving, yes,
cool.
sir. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. Several people did. I remember seeing it.
But keep in mind, back in the day, that was the form of communication. There were no podcasts, there were no TV shows, there was no Discovery Channel, there was no History Channel.
Right.
The way people communicated and the way people learned was they got an article in the newspaper. Times were different, standards were different, and things were well researched and published.
Yeah.
I loved reading Reader's Digest sitting in the deer blind with my dad. There was always a stack of old Reader's Digests that my grandparents kept, and my dad would put all our deer blinds, and always, of course, as a kid, I would skip through to all the joke sections because I wanted to read all the funnies. Yeah, humor and uniform. That was one of the greats. But yeah, you're right. I thought nowadays, as a kid, I probably would be on my phone rather than looking through old Reader's Digests.
Yeah, as a kid,
I might have come across one of my grandparents' copies and just never knew.
Yeah. I used to. My parents would take, of course, take me along, and had to go when they went to visit other adults or whatever. And there was this one place we go that this lady had a stack of Reader's Digests, and I would sit there and flip through them. Back when I was a little lad. Many years ago. So anyway, Hedden got the bug from reading that New York Times article in 1926. So he gets over to Oak Island, and he ends up buying lots 15 through 20, where the money pit is on lot 18. So he ended up buying all of those lots. This is the article that got him right here, 1926, June 6th. That's funny. They always come out in June, isn't it? The ones that are written about that. But you can see those oak trees back there, still in that photograph there. I think it says here, mysterious treasure pit of Nova Scotia has long defied engineers. So this kind of interesting little thing there. But he thought, his original thinking, of course, I think, was that it was Captain Kidd's treasure, right?
Yep. He read an article on Captain Kidd, and I don't know if it was at the first or after he started the search, but yeah, he was convinced it was Kidd. I think the Kidd article came later, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I think so. Captain Kidd and his Skeleton Island.
Yeah.
I was looking at that, and that was written in about the same time that he got there on the island. I thought I had it written down here.
The book was 1935. The book was written.
Yeah, and that's about the time he got there. It was about 1935.
Yep.
So, strange, the discovery of strange secret hidden. So, everybody, and a lot of times, nobody really thought about the Templars back then, that it was a Templar treasure or it was some kind of thing like that. They thought it was a pirate treasure. There was pirate treasure on the island because, as Tom's talked about, pirates were very prevalent in that area back then, right?
Well, that was the known history, right? Those guys were in the area. That was the known history. No one had ever, as far as I know, back then, it had gone back in to say, "Oh my goodness, look at these fellows over in Europe. Could they have been the Templars, or do the work that someone like Chris or Corrigan have done, or whatever?" And say, guess who else could have been here? It just never crossed people's minds.
Exactly.
Is the skull and bones flag? Is that a Templar / Mason symbol that the pirates had adopted? I feel like I saw that, but I don't know if it's actually historic.
That's a good question for Gretchen right there.
Gretchen, I think that was a Templar thing.
I think it was.
Because now I feel like now we have a little bit more
away the evil spirits.
Okay, yeah, because I feel like a lot now we look back and we could say a lot of pirates were members of this secret society.
Gretchen, what's your thing on the Templars? Go back to 1100s, right?
Yep.
On the skull and crossbones. I think Gretchen was the one that originally had, when we had she was on the podcast and we talked about the skull and crossbones coming up. And there's a lot of, I think that because they were big on the prophet that was baptizing everybody in the Jordan.
John the Baptist with his head. So it's his head cut off? Is that what it is?
I think it was supposed to be John the Baptist, a symbolization of his. Tell me if I'm wrong, Gretchen, but the first to fly the Jolly Roger was a king of Sicily, supporters of the Templars.
There you go. Okay. See, Gretchen, we do listen.
So there is a connection, perhaps, to the Jolly Roger. Thank you. That's what it's called.
Yeah, the Jolly Roger. Yep. So, in that book, I think it was in this book where they had this map. Now, there was a guy that came out this was like back in season 1 or 2 of Curse of Oak Island, that they were talking with this gentleman. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. But he came and he talked to Marty, and he was in one of the restaurants, and they were talking about that book and this particular map, and saying that this map was actually Oak Island. Now, and somebody had told me this recently, and I had not known this. did they not originally make maps with north on the bottom? And our researchers out there, Doug is here too. Let me know if that's the case, because somebody had mentioned that, and I did not know that maps were originally made originally with north at the bottom, or some were. I don't know, but you see here, this one is showing north at the bottom, east to the left, and west going the other way. So if you take this and you take this particular map and you flip it over and put north at the top, it does kind of resemble Oak Island.
Yeah.
The one thing that gets me about that, though, the Nile Delta is upside down, north is in the south. Is these little markers on here talking about certain things like galleon wrecks, cocoa palms, desert.
Struck me
mountains.
was the thing about the palms. So if you flip that map upside down, right, you've got the palms, supposedly covering the drain tiles.
I was about to say all the coconut fibers.
Right. And some people say fibers, palms, whatever. The other thing that struck me was the word desert. Okay. Where's the boulderless beach?
Ah, yeah, good point.
What the desert mean? I mean, desert just means basically a barren area.
Right.
Depending on whose interpretation you want to use. But the first thing I thought, desert, no big rocks, boulderless beach. Another one of these Jake Roberts, you're inside my head, man. You got me frigged up. So.
Yeah.
Does it say Death Valley where the swamp is?
Yeah, it says Death Valley right here, that's kind of where the swamp would be, or Money Pit. Actually, that's kind of where the Money Pit would be, right across there. But yeah, so
I don't know.
Yeah, Death Valley right here, mountains. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's a stretch.
Me too.
To say that's Oak Island. It is fun to speculate about it, but it does, when you flip it over and you put north at the top, it does kind of look like a crude drawing of Oak Island. I don't know, but that's what this gentleman was saying.
I'm sure we could find other islands that look similar.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, I remember Marty and his partner meeting with the guy in Traverse City who brought them the map. Thinking, huh? Right? Yeah, Linda, that's right. I forget that guy's name too. I can't remember his name that was meeting with him. But we never saw him ever show up again.
No.
On the island or talking with anybody. But these coordinates came up, very interesting again. So there was some talk about those coordinates. Tom, I know you watched these and researched this episode pretty thoroughly, so feel free, please, to jump in.
Oh yeah, no. The map was interesting.
Yeah,
I just, and the William Kidd thing. I mean, Kidd was around. We know what happened to him. But was that map in a book published in 1935? I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. I'm reading through my notes here I made of this. Yeah, Mardell. I've heard of places called Del Mar, but not Mardell. Thought to be Oak Island upside down. Hedden used the coordinates at the bottom, and he was using those coordinates on Oak Island because he kind of believed that this was a map. Look at the, and I wanted to mention too, yeah, exactly. You see how much work that and money and everything else that the Laginas have put into this. These guys, Hedden had put in a ton of money into this thing back in the day.
At the top of that sign there, Sprague and Henwood. Okay, they were a big mining outfit out of Scranton, Pennsylvania. So that
hire them guys.
They would have brought their mining equipment up purchased their mining equipment down there and brought it up. So this was not just a bunch of guys lowering a bucket down the well. Like they had some serious equipment there. These guys, that company was, and it's still in existence in some form right now, but that was a big manufacturer of mining equipment.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a bunch of guys, lowering buckets down the well on a road.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the lumber, and I got pictures of the lumber. Look at the lumber there. It just in the construction of the head and shaft itself. That thing is solid.
Yep.
I mean, and
they had to bring these trees in from somewhere. You're not getting them off the island. Not that length, not that dimension.
Mm-mm.
And if anybody says finding a barrel part is unique, well, look at the barrels they were using to bring up the stuff from the bottom.
Yeah, running it down there. Guys were being lowered down with the bucket. They were riding in the bucket, riding down there to where they were working. They were shoveling dirt and rock and everything else into that barrel, and then the barrel was coming up. They were dumping it into a train car, a little car,
little mini, like a coal mining trolley. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And I got a picture of that little railway. And I was very curious about this sinkhole right here, this hole. Which one of the shafts that would have been, because this is all happening in the early 1900s. But you've got all this going on over here. But just look at all that lumber that they brought for this operation. That's crazy. Look at that. I mean, these beams and everything. The money.
Keep in mind, there was no road to bring that across on a truck.
There's no causeway yet,
right? There's no causeway, so this is all brought in by boat and unloaded by hand.
Wow.
Yeah, that's nuts. Absolutely nuts. This is an aerial shot. You can actually see the shadow of the airplane right there as it was flying by. But I was thinking about this little where they were filling up that mining car with the spoils, and then they were running it over and dumping it all the way down here. Okay, I'm gonna say that this is South Shore. Would you agree with that? Down here, that this down here is South Shore, and Smith's Cove would be over this way, somewhere over here. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Let me make this a little bigger here.
Sorry, let me see if I can.
No, it's okay. It's just on a laptop here, so you gotta make everything bigger.
I'm assuming you go with the this is the money pit, obviously.
Yep.
And so is this heading down towards South Shore down here? And then Smith's Cove being back over this way? I think so.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay. I was thinking about this dump area that they're dumping all these spoils.
That being the case, then the swamp would be to the left-hand side of that picture. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was thinking the swamp's over here.
Because
that way.
Look at I don't think that they are paths. I think those are brooks or streams or runoff.
Yeah, these are runoffs right here.
Yeah. And maybe the swamp, top left-hand corner. I don't know. Corner of the swamp.
Right. I love this picture because there's so much to see here.
There's your stone road, your center stone road coming down the middle. Yep.
Stone road. Remember the stone road?
That's the one they found in the swamp? That's when they had Marty up digging up with the backhoe.
Yeah. There's so much in this picture that just blows my mind. But this right here coming down in that spoils pot pile right there. This I've got another picture right here. There's where the guys are dumping. I tell you what. Oh, you do. Zane says he's got this overlaid. Good.
Look at in the background of that picture. Look at the houses or buildings or whatever. You see them on the shoreline?
Yeah. That's why I think this is. I think they're dumping this over by South Shore.
Yep.
And then you're looking
back towards the mainland. Yeah.
Yeah, you're looking back towards Lunenburg area that way. I think that's what I'm thinking. Dumping on south side. Yeah, I think so, Kat.
I think you're right, but Zane will probably prove us wrong.
Yeah, he'll probably show me and go, "Nah, you're backwards. Flip it over 180 degrees and you got it." That spoils pile, man. I'd be all into figuring out, going through that spoil. I mean, maybe somebody has, I don't know, but interesting stuff though. But for sure, Blair and Chapel. A couple pictures of those guys, and they were working on this back in just before the late 1800s was when they were there, right? Because Chapel's son was involved with Hedden, I think, in some way, or right
1893 to 1900 was the Oak Island Treasure Company.
Yeah, right.
That was formed by Frederick Blair.
Yeah. look at this. And again, this is many years later, of course, but look at that, all that wood there. You talk about the things that they find all this wood down in the money pit as they're pulling up, hammer grabs and all this kind of stuff. There is a ton of lumber down there. And that's why it's so important for them to date this stuff. Because they might
be not light. I mean, I don't know how many people have ever done any carpentry work or construction work, but to grab onto one of those planks that he's got laying there in front of him, you just don't grab onto that, put it under your arm, and start walking down the road with it. Like those things are heavy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and they're thick. Look at how thick those things are. I mean, this is
4 inches. Yeah,
a ton of work. And he made a 12 by 24. Hedden did a 12 by 24 a shaft going down there. That's incredible. One of the things that was so interesting about Hedden, I thought, was that he didn't go by just that article. He was a researcher. He really started researching into stuff. He also went around the island and he went looking for clues. He had a good idea that there were clues spread around the island that he needed to find, just like we're finding out today with Rick and Marty Lagina and the team. They're looking for clues all over the island, Lot 5, wherever, or the whole island. The whole island is a story that has something to do with this. He was the one, he came down here and he found, what do you see here in this picture that might be of importance? Now, this was the newly constructed.
Oh, the stone triangle.
That's the replica.
Yeah, that's the replica. That's not the original stone triangle. That's the replica that was put in to show basically where it was. It was destroyed by, I think, Robert Dunfield when he was bulldozing all over the place. I think he was the one that destroyed. I don't know. I might be wrong on that. But
I would guess probably it was.
Yeah. But this was down in the South Shore, right where the road bends and goes up to the money pit right here. This would be the easternmost road that goes up to the money pit. Isaac's Point being off over on this side over here. But you got that stone triangle right there. Now, this picture here is another one, it's another one of the replica. Looking at it from there, and you can kind of see the stone triangle laid out there with the line in the middle. Now, this one here is the original stone triangle. Now, I wish there was a better picture of it showing exactly where it was placed, but I don't think that they have one. They knew pretty much where it was. But the problem with that is they don't know exactly. Some people say it looks like a sextant. Mm-hmm. And the sextant has that center line that can be offset to show your direction. And so it had that, and that was pointing at the money pit, apparently. I think that's from an old video. Yeah, I think so. So he was very interested in it. He also found the drilled stones on the island. And so he was correlating all this together with the drilled stones and the stone triangle and coming up an approximate spot where the money pit was in right there. And you see that star. He hired a surveyor to come out. What was that? I didn't get that surveyor's name. Did you have that?
No.
I've forgotten. I know there was one. There was a couple of different surveys that were done.
Roper survey. Roper survey. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So again, they were looking at all these different directions, looking at the stone triangle down here and trying to correlate exactly where everything was located on the island and find out exactly where the money pit was.
That's really good. It's kind of cool when you look at that picture, right? Because we think, we look at all the guys like Chris and Corrigan and, anybody else that does all their star map diagrams or this angle to that angle, whatever. Yep. And we're all thinking this is a new idea to do this stuff, but they were doing it 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They were using those same ideas, maybe not based on the same, starting points, but they're using that same idea of using some sort of a navigational tool to determine the angles to figure out where things were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's and they didn't have other things that were on the island too, like the Nolan's Cross, and things like that to work off of as well, which I still say is a very important piece of this puzzle. I think Nolan's Cross is, and you know, we talked about that with Corian's new information that he just came out with, and I hope you guys have went and checked out his video that he came out with.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really well done.
Very good. Yeah, very well done.
Yeah.
Good research. They're good. This research never stops.
There's no question that Nolan's Cross was important to at least one group of people. Was it important to everybody that's ever been on the island? No, probably not. Because I think with the multi-generational thing, the cross would mean something to one person, and if you didn't know what you're looking for, that cross would mean anything. You just know it's a great place to go hide stuff.
Yeah. If you didn't have any kind of Templar connection and all of that, yeah. So yeah, it was. Yeah, MacGyver says a great video. I thought it was excellent. Yeah, he has done great work. Gretchen says, yeah, for sure. And then he also is the guy who found this piece of the HO stone. Now he's not the one who blew it up, but he went and looked for it, for some kind of pieces of the stone, and he found it.
Yeah, it was down by the shore, wasn't it? The kids found it, and they decided there was treasure under it, and they blew it up.
I think personally, this HO stone was probably one of the keys to tell you at least the who of the Oak Island story.
So there's no picture of it before it was blown up. I feel like I've only ever seen the pieces. So it's like they knew, oh, let's get a picture after the fact. Like nobody took a picture before they blew it up. I understand blowing it up because you can't get a crane on the island to lift that thing.
Yeah.
The historical significance or the information contained thereon would not have been important.
Right.
We found something with a bunch of marks on it. Go get some dynamite. We can't move it. Get some dynamite. We'll blow this thing up and see what's underneath it.
Yeah. Yep. They weren't the Laginas and they weren't us. They were just
history meant nothing.
History meant nothing. They were all about the treasure. Find the treasure. That's all we're here for.
And if I destroy this, that means no one else is going to find it.
Yep. Sharon, you're correct. It's a tragic loss. Yeah.
Yeah, I just that makes no sense to me that nobody was like, wait, guys, real quick. Snap a picture.
Let me get a picture of this.
I want to know where they got the dynamite from.
Yeah.
How'd these young guys get their hands on a bunch of dynamite? What
yeah, exactly. I've wondered about that myself. If you take and flip this thing over, you got the OH stone.
Yeah.
And who's to say that we're looking at it in the right perspective?
It could be upside down. It could be sideways. It could be backwards. We don't know.
Because they didn't.
Our eyes automatically go to the letters H and O.
Yes. Yeah. Hedden had saved it, and we don't know where it is now. It's lost again. But I think Hedden had saved it at one point. And there was other pieces of stone here. Now, I don't know if these were HO stone parts or not. They make it seem as though it were. It is. But is that a date down there on the bottom? I don't know. You got Ross. It looks like it says.
Yeah, it's like 1814 or something like that. Or
1864 or 1814
maybe. Yeah.
Hard to see.
And Ross. I think those are more modern carvings.
I think so. Yeah.
They're done with a very sharp implement tool. You can look at the I and the N, things like that, and even the G.
Right. These are not the same person. I don't think that would have done these.
And even if it's part of the HO stone, I mean, there's no reason to believe that, you could have found the HO stone and then added something to it later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's no rule that says only one person can carve something into a stone.
Right. And one of the things I like, not only do I like this whole, the 4-dot cross and then the circle with the hole or dot in the center, but this right here, the H, they did those A's with the crook in the middle instead of a straight line going across. And here you've got an H with one in it.
Yep.
So there's a lot here.
I don't know. And the Spanish used that circle with a dot too to mark treasure or mark gold.
Gold. Yep.
Spanish and Portuguese both used it back
in
1500s.
Yeah.
Yep.
had different meanings in different places.
So is a 4-dot cross unique? Well, it's a Templar, type symbol, but is it unique? I mean, could anybody? I mean, it's not. To me, it's not a symbol that's so hard that somebody else couldn't have come up with it.
Right.
But when you put the three of them together, then you're starting to take the coincidence factor out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big scene. Yeah, interesting. So I don't know. I mean, these letters down here kind of do because you can see these little marks here on the HO stone on the H. You can see these little lines here, on the top.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the ones down here, you see those little lines on these too.
Look how much sharper that is and chiseled in. How sharp and straight those
lines. This I think
are.
is done later. This is something else.
Mm.
But I think this piece may be part of the HO stone.
Oh, the whole thing could be.
You're right. It all could be.
The whole thing could be. I mean, just because, like I say, if somebody put an H and O at the top doesn't mean somebody else, like graffiti work, didn't come along and lay claim to that same stone and put their own markings on it.
I was here too.
Yep.
Which one are you talking about, Coach? The HO stone? This pic? I think I can actually. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, if that's the one you're talking about.
So the line across on the H, were you saying that would help us determine orientation because typically it would be drawn kind of going with pointing up?
Yes.
And it would be less likely to look like this then.
It'd be crooked downward, I think. Is that not correct? Where's our researchers again?
Because I feel like that crook can tell us orientation, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So would that crook go up or down?
Up, I think.
Generally.
Up, I think.
I think up. Yeah, I think it does go up.
But regardless, that shape was known to be a Mason's type mark.
Okay.
Or it should be a straight line. They would make that V.
Yeah. Gretchen says the crook is usually pointing up.
Pointing up, yeah, because it would be the supposedly to imitate the compass, the Mason's compass.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. And the A, it definitely is when it's in an A. Yep. Absolutely. So
yeah, I don't know.
Man, oh, man.
Triple tau. If you go by Jake stuff, triple tau. I don't know. Double tau.
Oh yeah.
There's so many different things that could be mixed together there that
he also found the drilled stones, as we mentioned earlier. And he also found there's the HO stone when he found it, and he put a little measuring tape there to kind of mark, so you get an idea of how big that piece is, because it's hard to tell otherwise. I think these were these pictures that were in Nolan's museum that he had on the other side of the causeway.
I don't know.
I think they might. I don't know where these pictures came from. They might be from inside the war room.
Yeah, it looks like a modern piece of trim there beside it. So
yeah. Because he had a bunch of pictures in the museum over there. So yeah, he found all these things. He found the stone triangle, the HO stone, the drilled stones, and he found those mercury bottles in Geordie's Cove area.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was like a pile of them. I don't know, how many he found or where the.
No, it just said he found bottles. Yeah.
Yeah.
With mercury in them?
Traces of mercury in them. Yeah.
But traces of mercury.
You would, I mean, from watching the show, I know you would use mercury to preserve documents, right? Are there other uses for it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And who came up with that?
That was Bacon.
Bacon.
Bacon. Which takes you down the Bacon Shakespeare wormhole. Yep.
So, and we've had the people talking about Bacon was originally it leads to believe that Bacon might have been the guy who originally came up with or wrote the Shakespeare, all the Shakespeare stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That it was written by Bacon. And they kind of laid out in that episode why that would have been, because, of some of the things that he said in those stories, would have put him in bad favor with the king and the nobility. And also you talk about the manuscripts themselves. Shakespeare, and they talked about this in that episode, that Shakespeare, the person, was not somebody who was of that level of aristocrat, level. He was not part of the court, the king's courts, and the the higher echelon of the folks. He would not have known.
He wouldn't have had the tools or the resources to write that prolifically.
Yeah. He'd have been guessing
right?
on a lot of that stuff.
He'd have been guessing on a lot of stuff, or the knowledge. I mean, you can't write that much material and not have scribes or whatever to help you with it. So, I mean, we're talking 1603, Bacon was around. We know Champlain was around. Champlain, according to Jake, and Bacon were the same people.
Yep.
You had the Newfoundland Company, 1610. Bacon was sent over to Newfoundland, not up to the Lawrence Meadows area of Newfoundland, but more on the East Coast, St. John's area, which where Jake and Bill Smith have been poking around over there looking for something, goodness knows what. It all kind of ties together that he could have very easily have been in that area and had the manpower, the knowledge, and the science to bury something of that significance.
Yep. Yeah, he did. And I'm going to say too, Jake Roberts and Jake just had last Sunday night, he just had his episode on his podcast that he does with, he did it with Bill Smith. He's working with Bill. Him and Bill are on to something really cool. If you have not seen that episode, you need to go watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Sunday night. It's
YouTube Goes to Bacon.
Goes to Bacon. Thank you. I was at a complete brain freeze there. It Goes to Bacon on YouTube. Go look it up and watch that episode because these guys are on to something really, really good. And you need to watch that episode because it'll kind of key you in on what they're working on.
You'll remember Bill Smith from beyond Oak Island talking about Peter Easton.
Peter Easton, yep.
And
that's just the tip of that.
And now they're starting to tie Easton and Bacon together, and they're really not telling us a whole heck of a lot about it. But I can tell you, it's connected.
Yeah, he is, Zane. Yeah, he certainly is. So is Seth over here too.
Yep.
Oh no, I'm here for the Tom show. This has been a great.
Anyway, there's a connection there. They're working on it. Go watch the podcast that they did on the past Sunday night.
Okay, I follow his YouTube, but I haven't watched that episode yet.
It's educational and entertaining all at the same time.
Yeah, you got to watch it. Yeah, it was really good. They let a lot of stuff out of the bag on that episode.
Okay, all right.
Just enough to set the hook. They haven't really.
Yeah, exactly, right. Good stuff. But yeah, so he wrote this book in the scientific method. He was all about the scientific method, and as somebody had mentioned, I think it was Dean. I think Dean Barker mentioned this in the chat here. I was just looking back. He also is the one who had done the research on preserving documents in mercury. So Bacon knew how to do that. So if he had written all those manuscripts, he did all the stuff for Shakespeare and all of his other works, and he wanted to preserve them somewhere. What not better place to do than put them into mercury and bury them in the ground somewhere deep. And if you find bottles with lots of mercury, and they found parchment,
what are they doing there to begin with, right?
Binding and everything down in the money pit.
Yeah, bottles full of mercury don't float, so they were left there, deposited there. They fell out of something, whatever. Yeah.
Who else? I know mercury is used for other purposes, but who else would have had mercury and wanted to use it on Oak Island for something? I don't know.
But anyway, yeah, that's Conception Bay. That's where they, were told to go.
Yep. Now this was, go ahead, please.
That's Conception Bay in the east coast of Newfoundland, so just a short distance from St. John's. Lawrence Meadows, which where the Norse were, is up at the top left-hand corner, way up the other side of the island. Yeah, up there. So, I mean, the two are not connected in any way, shape, or form. But as you can see from Conception Bay to skip down to Nova Scotia, Mahone Bay.
Easy jump.
It's,
For them. Yep. Exactly. So I wrote down some notes from this, but Bacon was the Solicitor General in 1607. And in 1610, he helped form the Newfoundland Company, which had a mission to establish a North American colony at Conception Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So Bacon was already over here, and that's kind of the thing. This ties in with Oak Island, and it also ties in with Jake and Bill's research.
Yeah,
very
because
well.
If you subscribe to the theory that Bacon and Champlain were one and the same person, Champlain was already in the area, in the Bay of Fundy, so he would have had to come down the coast, go around the bottom southwest corner of Nova Scotia, up into the Bay of Fundy in 1603, 1604.
Mm-hmm.
So if the two were one and the same, he already knew how to get here.
Yep.
Yeah, Gizzle, that's very true. Mercury was also used to refine gold. So if Oak Island, some people have said Oak Island was nothing more than a gold mine, and people were mining gold out of there.
It's not the right sediment for gold. It's not the right rock structure for gold.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. So also, so that puts Bacon here, in other words, and all that. And Champlain here, is Champlain Bacon, or is Bacon Champlain? Possible.
Or Easton.
Or Easton.
And
you got Sir Walter Raleigh in there.
Bill Smith, if you're out there, dial in.
Yeah. So yeah, the ever-present Bacon Baconian Shakespeare controversy is an interesting angle and could be worth future exploration, which is what Jake's all about, and Bill is right there with him, going along, and their research is tying together really, really well. So, yeah, here's the one on doing the Mercury. That's the book on it right there. Piece of that, this was out of H8, that piece of bookbinding that they had taken to Christopher So and Sean Yang, and they had them tested over there, and they came up and said, yes, it was bookbinding, and the bookbinding and the parchment paper were all together into one. So it was definitely some sort of a book of some sort. It was.
And they put it anywhere. They put it anywhere in the 15th to 17th century, so 14 to 1600s.
Yep.
So there you go. You're back in the wheelhouse again.
Yeah, you're right back in the wheelhouse again. So, I mean, that's why, folks, you know, I say this. I've said this so many times about the history of all of this. And if you really want to get down to the who, what, why, when, where, and how of Oak Island, you need to know all these things. And is it possible? And this is something that Tom and I are getting to work on here. This multi-generational use of Oak Island is very, very viable. It's very possible. Because so many people, each one of these researchers, Doug Simmons and Gretchen and everybody, John and all of them together, they all might have parts of this puzzle. They all might be right in some way.
Oh, there's no question these different bodies of people were here. There's absolutely no question about that. Is what the heck did they do when they were here?
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many impressive names attached to Oak Island, from modern times to ancient, well, what Americans would consider ancient times. You know, like, when I started watching the show, if you'd have told me that there's an island that Francis Bacon to FDR, you know, people of that, prestige and ranking in society are interested and connected to Oak Island. It's crazy. And that's what's so cool too, like about, connecting the history and finding, to me, it validates sort of these extraordinary claims of treasure being there. Cause these sorts of men and groups weren't just messing around on some island across the pond for no reason. Everything they did was very intentional and thought out, I'm sure.
Yep.
It's just so impressive.
It really is.
It's hard to really grasp what the show has already changed for history. And I think for like Tom, for those in the area, like, man, like such an important part of the North American story.
I would have paid a lot more attention in history class if they were teaching us.
Yeah.
I agree 100% with both of you on that. Yeah, absolutely. Seth, for sure. Because, like I said, if somebody would have said all this to me, one thing is years ago, I wouldn't have cared. Treasure, sure. But history, why would I have cared? Now it's like, and so many people have mentioned that in the chat here, talking about MacGyver said the history is just as valuable as the treasure. Absolutely. For me, it is. They didn't teach us stuff in history class. You're right. They didn't. Now Hedden had passed off. He ran out of funding and everything else, and he ended up, cashing in. He didn't get there, so he cashed it all in, and he got. This is where he got Irwin Hamilton involved. Hamilton kind of took over and on the search from him, and Hamilton was good friends with Franklin D. Roosevelt. And Tom brought up an interesting thing about the shares. What was that you said earlier about the shares?
Well, Roosevelt's been following this thing since 1909, right? And obviously, as the 1930s rolled along, he had probably more pressing things on his mind with the World War, depression and a World War coming up. So, but anyway, I just went back and happened to look up because I remember one time they're saying, "Oh, everybody makes a big deal. FDR invested. Well, back in let's call it 09. They formed the Oak Island Gold Salvage and Wrecking Company.
Yep.
Okay. They issued 250,000 common shares of this company. Okay. Well, Roosevelt jumped on it and he invested. Any idea how many shares he bought?
I don't know, but that's 250,000 is a lot of shares, right?
Yep. That's a lot of shares. He bought 10.
He bought 10. How much were they?
$1 a piece.
Yeah, nice. Which was worth a lot more.
What the most important thing is, why did he do it?
What did that buy you?
That buys him all the information that someone with 240,000 shares gets.
That's right.
Right. He wanted the information. He didn't want the profit.
Right.
He didn't want the dividends. Right.
Yep.
He said he needed to know what they knew. And the only way to get that information and to stay in on what's going on is to be a shareholder.
Exactly. What better way?
A person with one share has every right and privilege as a person with, 99 shares.
Yeah, exactly.
Was he interested because he knew potentially there's still treasure there? Because I feel like, I do think stuff's been taken, but not all of it, right? Like, what keeps driving people that seem to be initiated into groups back to the island?
And these guys were all Masons.
Right. Yeah. And thanks to Corin and thanks to their book, the Templar or the
Jerusalem Files?
Yes. Thank you. Jerusalem Files.
Yep.
They talk about him changing the family crest, the Pentagon kind of establishment. It's interesting. Again, stuff that you think like, what? Now Seth's talking about the Pentagon. What does that have to do with Oak Island? I don't know.
Read the book and you'll know. Yeah.
But
read Corin and Christopher's book.
It all comes back to, if you don't know what you're looking at or looking for, all of this stuff means nothing.
Yes, exactly.
Right? It's just a neat design to a park or a neat design to a monument. Right? Or a neat design to look at the way the streets are laid out. Oh, isn't that cool the way they did that? If you don't have that level of knowledge to know what these guys were up to,
now we're getting into it. Yeah.
Now we're getting into Washington D.C.
Yeah, and the even and France too. Them.
Yep.
Is it possible that the Ark of the Covenant is actually buried or in a vault somewhere in Washington D.C.? I think it's possible.
Can't rule it out.
Can't rule it out.
This is so fun. That's like a national treasure movie.
It is. It is.
If you read Scott Clark's book, he talks about that.
Yeah, that's
and the similarities.
Yeah, Scott's another one involved in this whole thing. Yeah. Yep. And James.
See, these guys are all tied together. Robert Smith, Clark. They're worse than the Templars.
All of them.
Ooh, Gretchen said it's possible the Ark is in DC. Okay.
Yep.
Wow, I'm on board now.
Yes, it is. So, what did all these guys have in common besides a want and a desire to find treasure and to see what was down there? Was the Ark of the Covenant ever on Oak Island? Was the menorah ever on Oak Island? What did they all have in common? That symbol right there.
Yep.
Is what they all had in common. Yep. And you take the Freemasonry, dates back to the 17th century Europe. The order was to pursue spiritual enlightenment. Now, if that was something that was, why would you hide a lot of stuff in encryptions and write it into, encryptions in books, encryptions in maps, encryptions possibly in the King James version of the Bible, encryptions of all that? Why? And in literature.
The sonnets, they have, just like the Bible, they have purposeful mistakes as well in Shakespeare.
Exactly. So why would you hide this stuff? Because you're passing on your information to other people like you, but you've got to keep it out of the mainstream I was about to say mainstream media, but yeah, that's kind of what it is, because you would be imprisoned in many cases for your weird beliefs and philosophy.
Right. I was going to say, couldn't some of this knowledge be heretical and get you killed? And
it would get you killed. It would get you banned. It would get you thrown in prison. Bacon was supposedly thrown in prison when never got out. Or did he? He did. I think he did.
Or was it even bacon?
Was it even bacon that was in there? Or did he work with the king, who he's actually was friends with?
Bacon supposedly had a twin, right?
Yeah. And what was his name? Sir Walter Raleigh, maybe?
Raleigh. Oh, okay, okay. I was like, I don't know who. Tell me.
I was going to answer. I thought Jeff was just pausing for suspense.
Yeah. Mary Queen of Scots. I mean, these people all knew each other, and they all
and
were.
It all goes back to it all goes back to the Templars who started this whole mess.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it does. So that's what they all had in common. Looky here. Look at this picture here. I grabbed this was also on that episode, but look at this picture.
Ooh.
Where are they at? Where are they? They're underground somewhere doing their rituals, so because it was a secret society.
Just achieving spiritual enlightenment, making better men of themselves. Nothing to see here. Just a fraternal order of brothers.
Someone said that they think it all goes back to the Vikings. Well, the Vikings drew the roadmap, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Vikings and the Norse. Yeah.
They could tell you, but yeah, exactly, Zane. But they'd have to kill you, or you got to be a high-ranking member. So, did it go from the Templars to the Freemasons to the Masons?
Yes.
I don't know.
Throw in the Rosicrucians in there too.
No, as Rick says, we still haven't found that one thing yet.
You still haven't found that one thing yet. Now, you take this all the way forward to now. We talked about Hedden. We talked about what he did, what he built. We talked about the fact that he probably knew where the original money pit was, even though it had been kind of obliterated over the years. So when Rick and Marty Lagina got to the island back in like episode or season 3, one of the things that they figured they needed to do was find the Hedden shaft. Because if they could find the Hedden shaft, they would be in the good proximity of where the money pit was. Because supposedly Chapel hit the chapel, what they thought was a chapel vault, had gold on the drill bit, bits of gold. They found the parchment paper with the VI written on it and all of that. So the Laginas figured, hey, if we can find the Hedden shaft, we'll have a better proximity to where the treasure is. And they did. They found it with the help of Dan Hensky. So they dug down there and they actually found the side of the 24-foot side of the Hedden shaft in that episode. And so, their orientation was off. So that helped them figure out what the orient. Now you see those little diagrams on the, when you're looking at the, overlay of the money pit and you see the Hedden and the chapel shafts. Now they know what the orientations were. So they went and actually found them, and so that gave them a better idea of where they were. So when you see things like this right here, in the orientation, they now know what the orientation was. And what I had said earlier about the when Hedden passed everything on to Hamilton, and Hamilton did the Hamilton extension on the Hedden shaft, that is this right here, this little box you see right here. He went down to the bottom 24 feet, and he went further down, but he wasn't near as big. It was much smaller. But he was trying to get down to the chapel shaft, and he didn't get down there either. So there's that. Good stuff. I'm telling you, you know, if you don't have the history, I think that you must have the history. If you really want to get the answers to all of this, you got to include the history in this stuff. I think like many have said, it's just as important as the treasure itself.
Yeah, I want to know who is building roads in the 1200s
in
an island, and like
on some silly island in the 1200s. You know, and who was the big? I mean, Portuguese. What was the Portuguese time frame again, Tom? You're muted.
So around the 1500s. Okay. The Portuguese were here late 1400s, early to mid 1500s, and we know that because we have the maps to prove it.
Yep.
It's not guesswork.
So you go back before that. Who's the possible peoples? You go back to Doug and his Vikings and Templars.
You get the Norse, and the Vikings. Yep. And then the Templars, the Basque. You know, from all Portuguese, France, all that whole sort of Western Europe component. Yep. They were all up and down the coast.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Final thoughts on this episode, Tom?
I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed the Hedden episode.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I really.
What do you think, Seth? Are you all in on this then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a good tribute. You know, it brings it really helps you realize how not only was the depositing apparently multi-generational, but the hunting of the treasure, you know, where it's so many faces and names and families and people that put their lives into this, you know, we what's that saying? Like, you stand on the shoulders of everyone that went before you.
Yep.
And, you know, Hedden is an integral key. And I was excited it was cool to see, you know, not only are the researchers getting a little bit more focused time, but past searchers as well, that, you know, and I think like Rick's so good at articulating the human element to the whole story. And I think that's, you know, that's what I get the most out of these Tales of Oak Island, is bringing more of the humans into it and appreciating all the hard work. And
well said. Yep.
Can't give up. Got to keep going. This is the season.
I mean, you know, like I said, you know, you might the show might be season 25 of the Curse of Oak Island. Alex Lagina and Peter Finetti are now running the show, and you know, whatever. It doesn't matter, because you still need to get those answers. If it takes that damn long, sure, keep going. You gotta. To me, that's part of this treasure mystery, is you have to have that, and in the process, we're understanding who was over in North America way back then. We're getting a better understanding of all that. Christopher Columbus did not discover America.
Mm-hmm. He didn't discover it, but he was involved.
He was a player.
He was a player. And if you talk to someone like Jeff Irving, you'd find out a lot more about Christopher Columbus.
He was a player in this whole thing too.
Yep. Because I mean, he had the Spanish Portuguese connection, right?
Yep. Yep. And he had connections in the Templars and everything too. So
Jeff Irving has got a wealth of knowledge on this guy that
he does
that I can't share, but let's just say significant.
Yeah. I'm telling you that everybody that was in, you know, that we know from history, and many that we don't even understand, had something to do with coming over to America back then, to North America back then. And we need to.
Columbus got the navigation maps from the Viking. I had no doubt in my mind that those maps were passed around. Like I say, you can't put 500 guys on an island and go, shh, nobody tell.
Yeah. And the Zeno brothers. I mean,
And the captains of these ships, the navigators of these ships, were all much more educated than the crew of the ship. But these families, through marriages through different countries, were all connected.
Mm-hmm,
You can draw those lines between one family in this country to another family in this country. You can draw the connection. So you don't think they didn't share the maps?
They all have their secret handshake. Oh yeah, I know where the treasure is, and then they cool. We'll marry. Yeah, you're right, Tom. This is how it's been preserved, and whether it's through the group or the family.
That's how it was done.
Yeah, it's a crazy. Was he? Oh, what was it? Columbus got the navigational maps from the Vikings? Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. It's and having the Viking and the Templar connection back then that Doug talked about and all this. I mean, there's so much.
Well, you talk about the Vikings and the Norse and their connection to Great Britain and England, right? Great Britain and England had connections to France and Spain.
Yeah,
I mean, someone with a lot more, background, history, and knowledge than I can actually explain how those connections all work. Someone like Gretchen,
absolutely. Yeah.
But they're there.
Yeah, they really are. And I tell you what, kudos to Gretchen and all the researchers that are involved in this mystery, with their portions, and some span bigger areas, but my hat is off to every single one of you for all the work you're doing to figure this thing out, because Tom and I are here just putting together what we're hearing and seeing on the show, and the research that we're doing by talking to you all. Well, my hat is off to you all and all the hard work that you've been doing and digging through all of this stuff to come up with these answers. I tell you, it's a life endeavor to come up with this, and I truly appreciate you all, because that's how we're getting our information. So the longest running alliance,
Gretchen makes a good point there. The longest running alliance in the world is between the Portuguese and the English.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep in mind too that the research these people are doing, like we're talking old hand script documents, interpretations written in some language that goodness knows what. It could be in Latin, could be French, could be Gaelic, could be goodness knows what, Norse, Vikings. Someone's got to sit down and interpret all this stuff.
Right. Exactly.
Hundreds and hundreds, thousands of hours.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about the Scottish involvement.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. We'll leave that to James. James can nail that part down. 1632.
1632. Yeah, exactly. So crazy stuff. Well, folks, I hope you have enjoyed this episode, these two shows that we kind of put together for you here tonight. I tell you, it's so much fun, truly, for me. And I know that Tom and Seth feel the same way about this, and Zane and half the folks that are in the chat here with us tonight. It's so much fun to work on this and look into this stuff. I really, truly enjoy it. And it's the reason why we do this podcast, is because Tom and I are learning stuff, not only from the researchers and from what we do, but we're also learning a lot from you all too. And that's why we thank you that's why we do these live, because, we learn stuff every single time. And, we figure, hey, let's share this with as many people as possible, because we're not always right. A lot of times you guys show us where we're wrong, or I'm wrong on stuff, but, it is so much fun, and I really appreciate you all hanging in there. So if you like what we've done here for you tonight, give us a thumbs up on that YouTube channel. We really appreciate that a lot. And tell your friends and stuff about this. If you know anybody, if you have anybody that you can even talk to about this, that don't roll their eyes.
Yeah, some of us are here because there's not too many people to talk to.
You'd be amazed how many people are out there when they see you show something of Oak Island or whatever. They go, "Oh, you know about Oak Island?"
Yeah. And I wear
a lot of closet Oak Island followers out there, folks, that you don't know about.
There are, and I tell you, when I go out in public, when we went to the RV show, or when we went to the festival at Crystal Isles, or whatever, the Manatee Festival, I'm always wearing Oak Island something, or Skinwalker Ranch, or whatever I feel like wearing that day. But I tell you what, I get more people going, "Oh yeah, that's that treasure show. I like watching that show." And then we spark up a conversation about it. So you never know who you're going to run into along the way, because they're, like Tom said, a lot of closet watchers of the show.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what we have for you here tonight, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and all of that. I appreciate it very much. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Expedition Bigfoot, episodes 2 and 3. And then in a couple weeks, we're going to do 4 and 5. We're going to keep that going. And we're going to be doing Oak Island episode number 12 next week, right here on the J Free 906 podcast. Oh, you're down to negative 20.
Stay warm, folks. Stay warm. Thanks for the
I
notes,
think it's I think it's 65 here right now. So
you're breaking my heart, Freeman.
I'm not going to tell
Thank you, folks. We'll catch you next time right here on the J Free 906 podcast. Good night, everyone.
Good night.